Glad you're still here. I have two guests, but for now we have one. We'll start with Obinna Ejanya, CEO, Nine Communications Limited. He joins us from Melbourne. Thank you very much for giving us your time on one slot. Let's start by, us generally understanding what gerontocracy is. What are the cultural and historical roots of this kind of leadership in Africa, and how has it shaped the continent's politics?
Culturally, we understand that Africans, we Africans, we are people that honor the elderly people. We honor those that are older than us. And then our system, our traditional system, and in major or most African communities, starting from communities, we see that our system is based on elderly respect and honor. So, and that is how we see it in Africa. We honor our elders and we respect them. It's a far-reaching difference between the African system and here in the Western country. However, that tradition should be, extracted, should be removed if we are talking of democracy, because democracy is something that we imported.
Does it, yes, it's our tradition to always respect our elders, but does age translate to wisdom? Does experience always translate to better?
Age has a lot to do with knowledge. The more you are older, the more knowledge you have acquired. However, as we know factually, that wisdom, is the application of knowledge and understanding. So knowledge alone cannot suggest that someone is a wise person. So having said that, age should not be a criteria for insisting on selection of leadership.
Yeah, I'm heading somewhere when I ask that question. Yeah. I'm trying to, because when the ideology, the prevailing ideology we have that you've also confirmed is, yes, respect the elders, but the elders did not just become elders one day. It was a process, of learning, unlearning, relearning to get the experience that they now tout, and some people say used to intimidate. Again, the question, does it truly translate to better, considering that in Africa, that's if you agree with me, we have more of, people in this demography being in leadership position. I can't remember the country now, but we have a prime minister there who is 86 years. He has held all possible positions, but he's incoherent at this moment, but still leading.
Yeah, in this dispensation, this generation of information, as we can see, if you think of those that are aged already, their experiences and knowledge in terms of what is obtainable right now is not something to, hold on to. Just right now, we remember when we started to use mobile phones. So, and then from mobile phones to smartphones, and then from smartphones to internet. And you find out that as those trends continue to evolve, it leaves some people behind due to their age difference. So because of that, in this dispensation of knowledge, knowledge does not, stay with just within the elderly. So a child right now, like you will bear me witness that some elders will hold mobile phone and their child will take that mobile phone and show them things that they never know existed in that mobile phone. So knowledge has gone beyond, the age experience. So, and I would like to continue limiting my, whatever I'm saying towards governance, democracy in Africa. Because if I just start talking about something else, it will be different.
No, actually, that is the context of the conversation today. Just to mention, the name I was trying to remember was General Moses Ali. He is Uganda's prime minister, and he is 86 years old. There are videos of him on social media being incoherent. But let's move a bit and talk about how this is affecting the ability of young people to participate in politics and decision making.
Yeah, it's really affecting the young people and affecting the output, the developmental output that we are getting in Africa. Because you'll bear me witness just months ago when USA, which is the foremost country we are copying to practice democracy, when their president was not performing well because of his age, some issues he's having due to getting too old to rule. I'm talking of the person of Joe Biden. At a point, he was not able to perform anymore. He was committing different kind of flaws, making a lot of mistakes in when he's speaking and the way he carries himself and all that. And you bear me witness that even within his own party, he was told to step down. And that is what I'm looking forward to see in Africa, where people can see that someone is no more eligible to rule health-wise.
All right.
And then the person decides to vacate the office for someone else.
Well, that will be the day. If we have that in Africa, it will be celebrated wild. Okay, I understand we have our second guest for this conversation, Shadrach Kundi. He is International Security Analyst, African Center for International Affairs. He joins us from Accra. Thank you for being here today. Talk to us about your perception. I don't know if you've been following the conversation, but I'd like to establish your stance on what we're talking about, gerontocracy.
All right, so permit me to say that gerontocracy has remained something with leadership in Africa, and since it's part of the body politics of the African people, we cannot directly deal without it. Yet there is a new wave of leadership style that is coming in as a global system, and Africa will have to brace itself along. Usually there is the argument that experience always comes with age, yet such arguments have not yielded the kind of results that the African people are always looking out for. within the long run. So it's always a good step in the right direction to always try something different, to see whether the youth of Africa will be able to fill that void that we've experienced for a very long time. And when you look at the historical trajectory of the African people, during the formative years of our independence, most of the trailblazers of independence were people within their youth or within their prime. And this suggests that within those periods, there was some kind of vociferous ways in which some agenda towards the African people were pushed. Fast forward in our current dispensation, we can see a lot of these young people who have grown to be old men, and they wouldn't want to leave power, and they want everyone to believe that the old is the wise, but it's not always the case. It's highly contextual, and it's based on different societies. And Africa has embraced it as part of our body politics, and I think it's high time we vary it a bit to also test other aspects of our population who are the youth, give them the opportunity for them to decide for themselves what they want, because the youth make up the population, a huge chunk of the population. And if they are in the realm of affairs, I think they would handle issues in a way that will seek to advance their own interests.
Away with experience. There is a place for experience in all spheres. So I want to talk to you about this emphasis on lived experience. The barometer I mentioned, the Afrobarometer survey I mentioned earlier, found that a majority of Africans, about 59%, agree that in order for the country to do well, they should listen more to the wisdom of elders, while only 27% agree that in order for countries to do well, they should listen more to the wisdom of young people. So talk to us about this emphasis on lived experiences and how we can put that in perspective enough to encourage youth involvement, more youth involvement in politics. Shadrach.
Yeah, so it's a casual argument being made here, and I think the argument being made here is about advice, and the lead people can be the youth, and so the advice can still come from the old. Nothing stops any leader from receiving wise counsel from the old. But here lies the argument where we need energetic people to fill up positions within our current dispensation, people who have vision towards the future, not people who have already spent their future already, but people who see the future ahead of them. And that's the argument that I'm making here, that yes, we can receive all the advice as youth, yet if we are not given the table towards to also decide for ourselves what our future would be, then implying that the future would be in the minds of the old. And my argument is that yes, the advice can be sought from the old, but let the youth lead.
Obina, do you share that thought as well? And if yes, then what would be your suggestion to the position that there should be official limit for leadership position, age limit for leadership position in African countries, if not all of them, at least some of them, maybe as an experimental thing to see what we can do with it? Should these limits be a thing? If yes, is it achievable?
Yes, I think one of the things that I'll even start campaigning for is that in terms of Nigeria, to start with, that since these old people want to hold on to power forever, why don't we, change a different system of government whereby we have president and a prime minister, so that if they want to be, because we are talking of experience, being old does not give you experience in this dispensation, as I've said before. There are different kind of dynamics that determine that wisdom that we need to move a country forward. We need, right now, we see the invention of AI and all this technology that you can put in place for decision making. Decision making does not depend anymore on your brain accumulated brain knowledge. So young people should be given room to change the narratives, because if you look at history, there's no way in history that is old people that champion any kind of development. Nowhere. History has it that if you just think of any country that you can think of, you see that whatever thing that happened because of young people. So even in the aspect of Nigeria, history has it that those people that fought for our independence, they were very young. Those people that it's just that
they were young then, but they've still not left the space. They're still holding tight, and that's part of the reason we're having this conversation. Sorry, Obina. Yes. I wanted to see, both of you agree that the young people should have more say, more ability to decide what happens on the continent. But then you look at the paradox, if I'm correct now, of the Burkina Faso case, where you have Ibrahim Traore. He is a young leader, but he is not operating in a democratic setting. Is there an example of an African country where youth participation in politics has been successful, even if it is not in the Traore's contest? And what lessons can we learn from that?
Yeah, the lesson we can learn from Traore is that a young, vibrant person, it's just common sense to know that when you are young, you can do more. When you are old, there's somebody I've asked from the Aso Rock, who is my friend. I said, if you think that we are doing well, if in reality, in real world context, our president, who I support as well, at least I encourage him to do well as well. So, but if he's not in terms of politics, he's running a business, will he still be the CEO of that
sorry to interject, Obi, now. Sorry to interject again. I want Shedrack to also speak a bit on this, because we need to go on a break in another 3 minutes. Sorry, Shedrack, I need you to speak on this, please.
Yeah, so apart from the Traore case, we have the Senegalese president, who is also a young person. And by and large, he is also contributing to ensuring that the developmental pace of Senegal is taken within the right direction. You could have heard from most of his reforms that he put in place towards resetting the country in a path that reflects the future of Senegal. So when we juxtapose that with that of Ibrahim Traore, that has received a lot of mileage across the African continent, the main theoretical underpinning that is weaving around Africa is the issue of Pan-Africanism. That is the new wave of Pan-Africanism, that these leaders seek to go back or dig into the past of our independence and also the liberation of the African people for post-liberation and post-colonial liberation from new imperialism and new colonialism. And if we should have several of these leaders coming into office, it will be a revolution for Africa. Africa can be able to assert its agency. Africa can be able to assert its proper place within the global space and show the world that what Nkrumah said, that the African people are capable of managing their own affairs. It implies that the African young person can be able to manage their own affairs and charter the path towards prosperity and sustainable development for the continent.
All right, we have to go on a break. When we come back, I still have at least one or two questions before I let you guys go. And I will be asking for a contrast between this youthful leadership that we have. On the one hand, we have Yoweri. On the other, we have the Senegalese president. Stay with us. Glad you're still here. Let's just get right to it. Before we went on the break, I talked about the two presidents, the Senegalese Diomaye Faye and Burkina Faso. One is a military leader. The other is a civilian, democratically elected president. We're clamoring for more youth participation, but both of them are operating from different governance prism. Is that what the future of youth leadership will look like for Africa? Different kinds of governance, democratic, military. What are we looking at? Shadrach, let me start with you. And you have just 1 minute, please.
All right, so if you look at the third wave of democratization that began in Africa during the 1990s, and you compare it with the rounds of research done by the Afrobarometer, you realize that the appeal for democracy has waned down from around 80-something% to around 40-something%. It should tell you that the African people have not seen the said dividends that democracy sought to deliver to the people of Africa as it's promised. As a result, many are questioning the democracy in itself and its structures, and looking at how the global space is playing out where neoliberalism is falling. It implies that if African states do not take particular attention to the various needs of their country by ensuring that the social contract is delivered on the premises of democracy, we are going to have more of democratic backsliding, as we've seen in the likes of Burkina Faso, in the likes of Niger, in the likes of Mali, in the likes of Guinea, in the likes of the different African countries who are turning to military rule. And the big question that it has for us is that, has democratic governance been able to deliver the social contract? That is the big question that the African people are asking. And if this question is not answered in the light that democracy has been able to deliver its said dividends, it implies that most people would prefer a military government or would prefer an autocracy to a democracy that does not deliver to their various basic needs that they may need to survive as a people. So it's high time that our governance structures are put in place towards delivering and also ensuring the human security of every citizen of Africa, especially those within democratic states.
All right, Obi, now over to you.
Okay, right now, it will bear me witness that recently when Senegal, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and when these last three countries, when they pulled out of ECOWAS, and the military coup and all that, there were a lot of Nigerians who were jubilating, and they were kind of in anticipation to see if there's something like that that will go on in Nigeria as well. So Nigerians are, they are no more hopeful on that, the dividends of that promise of democracy. What African youths are looking for now is something that will bear fruit for them, something that will make their lives to be better. So it doesn't matter for them if it is a military rule or a civilian rule anymore, because even the democracy seems to be a kind of fraud to them. Because you bear me witness that even during electioneering process, they were let down. The results were not what the people actually voted for. So there have been a lot of, disappointments. The youth are disillusioned. They are giving up hope. So that is why you see that the way things are going, the youth, they just want a change.
All right.
No matter how it comes. So,
all right, Obinna and
yeah.
Shadrach, as always, thank you very much for sharing your time with us. We value the insights you've provided and the comments you've made.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.